In this video, we're going to be doing a quick start guide for OBS, specifically for you to get started streaming quickly and to get the basics without having to learn the entire program all at once. Let's get you going and get started, and let's do that by jumping right in. To get started, we're going to talk about some basics, setting up scenes and sources, and just so you know, we are in OBS 28. It's the latest version here in September of 2022 when I recorded this, so if you have a newer upgraded version, I'm sure all of this works just as well. All right, so in scenes, these are kind of like different spots where you can put things. You can have different screens from like live to intermission to starting soon to be right back. This is where you would create those. Right now, we have just a blank one that is just titled scene. We're going to go ahead and make a new one just for now. We're going to call this one live. This is what we're going to use whenever we're live on screen, whether it be our game or our picture, whatever the case, this is the scene we're going to use. Inside a scene lives sources, and sources stack on top of each other for you to have a composition of what you want for your stream. For sources, you can click the plus button to add a new one, or you can go ahead and right click and choose add, and you'll see a list of a bunch of different sources that you can choose. We're not going to go over all of them today, but we're going to go over the popular ones. For your capture card, your desktop screen, or even capturing just a window, there are three specific ones you need to know: display capture, game capture, and window capture. They should be pretty straightforward. Display capture captures your entire screen. Now, some of you might want to do this because you want anything that you put on that screen to pop up. This is what a lot of people use, including myself. However, it requires a little bit of extra CPU power. So if you're lacking in that, you might not want to go this route. Game capture uses a little less on the CPU resources and will still capture your game. Sometimes this is automatic and will actually pick up your game in between changing games, but this is a really good option. I'd recommend it. Just know that it's not always foolproof and doesn't work with every single game out there, depending on any cheat software. So you might resort to window capture or display capture anyway. For this example, we're going to use window capture to just go ahead and capture Google Chrome. So we're going to do add window capture, and then we're just going to name this one Google Chrome. Now you can obviously name this whatever. This is just for you to keep things consistent for yourself. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose Chrome, and you can see that it's capturing stream elements in the background. Now we've hit one of our first snags that you'll see a lot of times, is that what we've captured might not fit the resolution of the canvas. It could be capture cards, anything, and it's really big. You could just grab the little dials, move it around, etc. But the other option is you can actually right click the source and go to transform, and from transform you can choose things like stretch to screen, center to screen, fit to screen. For this example, we're going to choose fit to screen, and we're going to see that it goes ahead and fills the screen. Next, what if we wanted to add a webcam? This would be something like a Logitech webcam, or maybe you have a capture card with a DSLR camera like this. You're going to click plus, you're going to go ahead and click add and choose a video capture device, and from here I'm just going to call this one webcam, and I'm just capturing my camera that's right here. And once that's done, we'll click OK, and there's the webcam. It's placed. The next piece is, how do we go ahead and reorder this and move it around? And what if we wanted to crop it? Because maybe we don't want it all of this dead space on each side of us. So I'll go ahead and pull it down. We can resize it, and then we can actually move it around the screen wherever we would like. So what if I wanted to kind of pull that dead space off? You hold the Alt key on the keyboard, click the cog that you would like to move, and then just drag in. You'll see these green lines. That means that you've actually cropped in that area. And from right here, I will have just a little picture of my face that I can go ahead and make larger, smaller, whatever the case. Let's say that that's where I want that to be for my stream. That's all I wanted. That was simple. A great way to go ahead and resize, reshape, and move things. Now, we just saw another problem that you encounter: sources that move when you don't want them to. To make this change, to make sure you lock what you have, you can click the locks beside each of that source. That means that I can't move anything on screen unless it's unlocked. Really good if you want your game to move around, but maybe you want to move a source midstream. Just lock the ones you don't want to move. Next piece is actually adding alerts and overlays. We're going to do this through a browser. So we're going to click add browser, and we're going to call this one alerts. Now, there are a couple different alerts programs that I recommend that you grab. Number 1 is going to be Stream Elements, and number 2 is rainmaker.gg. Both are free, both have different interfaces, but one of them is a little easier to use, however it's restricted. So we're going to talk about both, and we're going to talk about how to put them inside OBS. So right now we're in Stream Elements. You can sign in with a free account. You can use, I believe it's YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. I think I still have Mixer connected from a long time ago. But what you do is you can actually go under Streaming Tools and actually create a brand new overlay, or you can go to their overlays gallery and you can choose from a ton of these overlays that are already predetermined where you want them to go. They can be specific to games, whatever the case. They've just done a great job over at Stream Elements kind of tying this to what you would like. So go check some of these out, and once you do, it's going to create some overlays for you. But before we do that, let me show you Rainmaker. Rainmaker.gg is for Twitch alerts only, but you get a lot of other things that you don't get in Stream Elements. Things like being able to show what song you're playing through last.fm. You can actually do chat triggers and some other things that just you don't natively get in Stream Elements, and Rainmaker just does it well. So if you're streaming only on Twitch, I'd recommend you check out Rainmaker. If you're not and you want to stream on other platforms, I would try Stream Elements. So what we're going to do is actually copy this one from Rainmaker and put it inside our scene with a source from a browser source. So from here, we're going to go ahead and just click to copy URL. All right, and then back inside the OBS, we've went ahead and added a browser source, and you will be met with a screen like this. Paste that URL, and you need to change the width and the height to match the size of the actual overlay that you made on Stream Elements or on Rainmaker. If it was 1080p, make sure you make it 1920 for width and 1080 for the height, and then etc. If you made it 720p, match it. Something else I would also recommend you do here is to check control audio via OBS. This is so that you can control your alerts and be able to hear them, as well as for you to be able to control how loud they are to chat. Once that's done, we'll click OK. And there you go. You can see that we went ahead and put our alerts on screen. We've got kind of an events piece up here in the top left, how many followers we have, and then alerts will actually pop up here at the bottom of the screen. And that's how I set it up in Rainmaker for this specific overlay, but that's how we got it in. Another piece that you need to know with this though is it matters what order they're in. So if my Google Chrome, which right now is acting as my game, if that was at the very top as the top source, it would cover everything up. So just know that the order here does matter. Whatever on the bottom of your sources will be displayed at the very back. So it's almost like stacking paper. It would be the bottom of the stack. Whatever at the top would be at the top of the stack of that piece of paper. Would be at the top of the stack of paper. You get the point. All right, and then the next step is actually to do settings. So we're gonna go through each of these kind of panels and talk about the settings that you should be able to change and kind of just make it to where it's the easiest. So we're gonna go through the general tab first. There's a few things here I would encourage you to do. Number 1, you wanna tick hide OBS window from screen capture. This is just so that if you happen to pull up OBS, no one will be able to see it, and it'll just, make things a little cleaner for your stream. If you're wanting to create videos with OBS though, make sure you turn it off, because that's what I'm having to do for this. A few other things you might want to have on here is you do want source alignment. This just makes kind of putting overlays and things in the right place a lot easier. You also should have automatically check for updates on startup on, just so that you can get the latest bug fixes for OBS. Also, I would encourage you to turn one of these two on, show confirmation dialog when starting a stream and for one when stopping stream, so you don't accidentally start a stream without a prompt or stop the stream without a prompt. It's just helpful for you to not have any of those oopsie streams, whatever the case. So I would click that. You also get automatically record when streaming. If you have the CPU or the power to do that, I would turn it on so you can always have high res rather than downloading your VODs later, but that's still an option. All right, under stream, you're gonna wanna connect your account. You can see that I've already connected to Twitch here, but when you click connect account, it'll go ahead and ask you to sign in with whatever you would like. That was for Twitch. You can choose other things like YouTube, Restream, Twitter, etc. Or if you want to put in a custom server or a stream key, like maybe you're streaming to something that's not supplied there, this is where you would put it in as the RTMP server and then the key that they provide. All right, the next place is kind of where a lot of the magic goes, and this is kind of what will make your stream look great or not look great. So really jump in and jump through this one. We're going to go ahead and change the output mode of the output tab. We're going to change it to advanced so that we can separate streaming and recording as well as audio. For streaming, you have an encoder. This one's pretty intense for you to figure out what you should use. Depending on your graphics card, and depending on if you're using an iGPU, or if you're in like 12th gen, Intel, whatever the case, you'll have a bunch of different options here. I have X264, NVENC H264, and NVENC HEVC. Again, depending on what you have, it'll be different. I would always recommend that you use hardware encoding. That would be like NVENC or the AMF encoder for Radeon, or maybe something like the media encoder that is on the new 12th gen chips. Or if you're a Mac user setting this up, I would go ahead and use that hardware accelerator for the metal piece. So I would go ahead and do those things. X264 is encoding with your CPU. So if you have the headroom, like a way multi-core CPU, this could be an option. Or if you want to just let it go off onto the graphics card on the dedicated chip, do that. That was a big explanation. If you want to know more about that, let me know in the description. I can make a dedicated video talking just about encoders. All right, so let's go ahead and choose NVENC. If you do have that, that's great. And just to squash something, you don't need NVENC to stream. You can stream with any graphics card. All right, let's go ahead and talk about a couple of these other things. Rescale output, never check this. This is not where we rescale outputs. Please don't ever check this here. Leave the audio track on number 1, by the way. Rate control. Several options here: CBR, CQP, VBR, and lossless. We can go through what all of these are, or you can check a video that I did about a year ago talking about recording settings. I cover all of these and talk about them. You should check that one out. Link will be in the description. For now, we're going to leave it on CBR. For your bitrate, this one's specific to you. Now you need to go and run a speed test. Your bitrate is how much data you're actually encoding your stream and sending it to the platform. A lot of people mismatch their bitrate from the resolution and get poor looking streams, whether it be too much bitrate or not enough. So just know that this number really matters. If you get an upload of, let's say, 6 megabits, right? That means that you have a maximum of 6,000 bitrate that you can send. Now, I would not send your maximum, and especially if you're on Wi-Fi, because that number goes up and down. So here's what I would recommend. We'll go ahead and put these on the screen so that you can see them, maybe screenshot them so you can save them. For 2500 bitrate, I would be streaming 720p 30 frames. For 720p 60 frames, I would be streaming 3000 to 3500 bitrate. For 1080p 30 frames, I would be streaming around 4000 to 4500 bitrate. And for 1080p 60, I would be streaming 6000 at a minimum. And honestly, you can actually stream up to 8000 on the platform, but I would be safe and do about 7.5 to make sure that you're doing well. So it would be 7500 bitrate for 1080p 60. And yes, Twitch supports up to 8K. Don't let them tell you they only support 6. I've been doing it for a long time. It works. Trust me. So let's act on if we're going to be doing 720p 30 frames. A lot of you are going to be using maybe cheaper hardware or even more expensive. Let this be a specific case for you. And if you have questions, comment down below or jump in Discord, discord.gg/thedarkness, and just ask, what bitrate should I be running with this? And this is my upload speed. My entire community, I'm sure somebody is going to go ahead and throw that answer. If not, I'll connect with you. All right, so for 720p 30, we're going to leave it at 2500 bitrate. For the keyframe interval, almost every platform requires that this be at 2 seconds. So make sure you go ahead and put 2 here. For preset, this is going to be different depending on what you have: AMF, NVENC, X264, etc. If you're running NVENC, I would encourage you to go quality, especially if you have a 900 series graphics card from NVIDIA or higher or newer. I would just stay on quality. If you have AMF, I would just make sure that you put it on a setting that's comfortable and do some test recordings. On X264, I would start with fastest, and then if you can bump up to faster, maybe do that, and then etc. Your mileage may vary for this option. We're going to stick to quality for now. Profile, we're going to leave it high. I believe all platforms have that. Look ahead, we're going to leave off. Psychovisual tuning, we will leave on. GPU 0, we'll leave this here unless you have multiple GPUs in your system. If you do, and you want to encode on the second GPU, which would be the one that's lower down your motherboard, you would change this to 1. Otherwise, just leave it on 0 unchanged. And max B frames, leave it on 2. You can do some adjustments on B frames and put it to 4, but leave it on 2. you're gonna have the best performance with this. All right, the next tab is actually the audio tab. For Twitch, they support up to 320 bitrate, which is fantastic. Just know that the audio bitrate stacks on top of the bitrate sent from your encoder. So if you have 2500 like we have now, we're technically sending 2820 when we do this encode. So for now, we're actually going to change it to 2820 by adding that 320 bitrate. So this is going to be fantastic for us. We're going to get great audio and still get a nice looking stream. All right, that's everything in this section. That's probably the most intense part. Again, if this makes no sense and you want more help, jump in Discord, we can help you with that. The audio section, we're gonna go ahead and make sure that we set all of this up. For desktop audio, we're gonna change this one to your main piece. You can change it to just default and it'll go ahead and pull it through. And then also for your mic, you can select your specific mic here. Like for example, I can choose my mic in here. And then for desktop audio, we'll just put it on wavelength system here, okay? The next one that's really important so that you can hear your alerts is to actually change your monitoring device. I would make this your headphones so that you can monitor your alerts direct to your headphones, but they won't go out to chat. It won't like reciprocate. So I would go ahead and do this and choose it. For me, I'm doing the Arctis Pro wireless headset so we can do that. I wouldn't mess with anything else here. Leave it be. Video tab, this one's important. Your base canvas is what you operate out of inside OBS. So that's what the places where you're building your sources. The output scaled resolution is what you're actually sending to your place that you're sending stuff, Twitch, YouTube, etc. So don't change the top one to be able to change what's seen on stream. Make sure you change the second one, the output, okay? So we did say we were gonna do 720p, and that's putting a P basically on the end of the second number. So we're gonna do 1280 by 720. For downscale filter, I would recommend you run Lanczos on every encoder, except if you're running X264 and you have an older system. I would start going by cubic or area. Please don't do bilinear, it looks bad. Then common FPS value, this is where you can get into some specifics here. You can go 30, you can go 60, and then they have a bunch of other options. Just know that those are the most common, 30 and 60. If you have a DSLR camera and you're wanting to run 30, I would recommend you do 2997 if that's what you're using as your webcam. And if you're running 60 frames, I would use 5994. I'm running the ZV-E10 with 16 mil, okay? So I'm doing that. I'm running 60 frames on 1080p right now. I'm gonna run 59.94 just because that's how these cameras work. Hotkeys, if you don't have a Stream Deck or anything like that and you wanna be able to change your scenes, you can go through here and actually set this up. So for live, I can do switch to scene. I could make that maybe Shift plus F1. And so I can make it to where whenever I'm in game, I could change my scenes without actually having to click on something. And then if you had another scene, you could do switch scene to make it Shift plus F2, have that set up. Accessibility, if you have anything that is, if you're colorblind or need to change some different colors, you can change this. And then the advanced tab, there's only a few things I would change here. I would maybe make the process priority high. If you see that you're using too much of your computer for this, I would go back to normal. I wouldn't change anything on the video settings. It's nice when it gets started. And I definitely would disable under sources. I would disable enable browser source hardware acceleration. Make sure that's off. I don't think you need that. And that's pretty much it with all of this. The last piece of this is audio, and you can actually see this right here in the audio mixer. We're gonna go ahead and make sure that our alerts will monitor to our headset. So we set that up just a moment ago in the audio section. We're actually gonna right click this alerts piece right here in the audio mixer, that one fader. And we're just gonna choose advanced audio properties. And you're gonna see it's gonna pop up the name of each of the audio sources, and you can change several things. You can mono them, balance them, etc. You can even add offsets. For now, we're just gonna change the audio monitoring. We're going to change it from monitor off to monitor and output. The reason we want that is we want it to play to stream, but we also want to be able to hear it come to us in our ears without it also double playing on stream. That's why we set it up to our headset. So this is how I would do it to make sure that you hear your alerts. If you've made it this far, I'm going to give you a bonus tip, and this one's going to be fantastic. This is called nested scenes. And this is even if you're an advanced person, this is going to benefit you. I would make a new scene. For example, I'm going to name this one camera. And inside this scene, I'm actually going to add my webcam. and go ahead and put that in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and say add. Okay, there's webcam. It's full size. It fills up this entire scene. This is the only thing on this scene. I can also go back over to live, and from here, I could go ahead and add a scene directly from the sources. You can actually add just scenes. You don't have to add sources. You could add a scene that has other sources nested, hence the nested scene piece. So once I click scene, I can choose camera, and there it is. Any changes that I do to that camera scene, like let's say I go in here and I do, I don't know, filters, and I like do some kind of weird color correction, and I just unsaturate myself, right? Now let's go back to that live scene. You can see that I'm already unsaturated there. This is a great way to have everything update on all of your overlays. Like, so let's say you have your webcam in multiple places, but you only want to change a filter in one. This is a great way to do it. So I'd encourage you to use nested scenes. You can use them for audio sources, like if you want Spotify to only pop up on one scene or the other. And if you want to know how to do that, check in the description for a voice meter tutorial I did. I'm sure you'll love it. It's step by step. It's really clean. You should go check it out. If you have any questions, jump over into our Discord, discord.gg/thedarkness. We have a help forums right at the very top of our community category. Jump in there, ask a question, and I'm sure one of our community streamers will be able to help you. If you want to see how to separate all of your audio sources and keep your audio nice, neat, and tidy in your stream, check out the video on the screen right now. So go ahead and see Voice Meter and how it can change your entire life when it comes to audio on stream. We'll see you over there.